Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Esplin. I'm really thrilled to be here today. So this is watercolor card making with Sakura watercolors. It's going to be fantastic. I am putting in a link in the chat real quick. That link is for the handouts you can see right here. If you get a chance to print those out, great. If not, no worries. It includes an alphabet, it includes the design that we're going to focus on today. So if you can print it out, great. But if not, I'm going to show you how to draft that up as we work through the class today. So a little bit about me. Again, I'm Melissa Esplin. You can find me on social media at Melissafer, like Melissa and calligrapher put together. I am from the snow-capped mountains of Utah. We just got our second snowstorm of the year, so I'm starting to get into a holiday mood, and hopefully you are too. And if not, we'll get in the spirit together with the cards that we're going to make. So hopefully this class you'll learn some techniques. We'll also complete a project, but the techniques I really want you to, you can take these and apply them just about anywhere else. So you can expand on what you learned today and it's not just one project. A little bit about my background. I have always loved letters and I would do block lettering as a kid in kindergarten. I've been journaling since the age of 5. And it really wasn't until 2009 I got this beautiful book from my mom. It was my great-great-grandfather's calligraphy and sign painting resource book that he used in the early 1900s. And that was when I knew I needed to get into lettering. So I have a few years of experience. I've been practicing since 2009, really in earnest. But so with that, understand, if you don't get everything perfect today, don't worry. You will make some strokes that you're not really particularly excited about, but that's part of the learning process. We are connecting our brain to our body and we're giving ourselves some grace to do something creative today. So we'll take notice of the things that we do like, and then we'll work from there. So I'm not without mistakes. And so we're going to work in pencil before we work in paintbrush. So just give yourselves a little bit of grace and know that it's all of our projects are going to look a little bit different. And I think that's what makes calligraphy and art and painting so great, is that we can all come together. We can learn how to do the same project, but each one is going to come out unique to us. And I think embracing that uniqueness is really what art is about and what art making is really about. So with that, let's talk about the materials that I want you to have on hand. And just like Nicoria mentioned, this class is recorded and will be published on YouTube. So if you don't have all of the items with you today, you can rewatch this later. So I have the printed handouts. Again, the handout is linked on Google Drive. You can download that. If you don't have access to a printer right now, don't worry, it's totally fine. I will walk you through how we draw these materials and you can use this as a reference, okay? I have graph paper. You don't necessarily need to have graph paper, but if you have an extra spare sheet of paper for drafting the Mary, that would be really, really helpful. Then I have a water brush. This is the Sakura large water brush. It's pretty darn awesome. I love using it. And then I have the Sakura, I think this is the 24 palette. You can use just about any palette, but I really like how this gives us a wide variety of reds and greens to pull from, which we will be doing today. Then you'll want a pencil. I have a regular drafting pencil, and then I have a watercolor pencil. Let's see if it'll focus on me here. This watercolor pencil is entirely optional. You don't need to have that, but I do want to have a red pencil so that you can see the difference between different strokes that I'm going to make, so it's a little clearer and easier. The paper that I have to work with today, I have 2 different types of paper. This is a regular cardstock that I've cut into 4¼ by 5½, just so that it works with all of my envelopes. Same thing with this watercolor paper. It's a toned watercolor paper. Just so you can see the difference between how pigments react on cardstock and how pigments react on watercolor paper. You can use either, it's totally fine. So those are kind of the materials that you'll want to work with. And then optionally, a glitter jelly roll, because leaving a little bit of glitter everywhere you go is always encouraged. So my goal in this class, I want you to make a card, and I want you to be brave and send that card to a loved one. Whether you feel like it's perfect or not, I want you to send it off. And so adding a little bit of glitter, if you can, is really, really great for just that little added sparkle when the recipient opens it up. So yeah, so let's get started with that. We're going to start off with our watercolor wash. So this is the card sample. I've got 2 different samples. They look pretty identical. The flourishes are just a little bit different, but we're going to use the same approach and techniques all around. What I want you to do, we're going to start off by creating our washes first, and then we're going to let those dry as we mock up or draft up our Mary design. So let's get going with our cardstock. I've already folded it in half. I'm unfolding it just so that I know where the midpoint of it is. So if I don't have the midpoint of the card that I'm going to fold over, then I don't really know how high or low my wash is going to be. So I would recommend folding it in half if you haven't already. So this is my cardstock paper, and this is my watercolor paper. We'll start off with the cardstock first. And let's work on, well, first and foremost, when you have a watercolor palette, I highly recommend, no matter what watercolor palette this is, that you swatch out your pigments. This I did in about 2 minutes so that I can see exactly what those pigments are. On the video, this looks basically black, but it's not. It's more of an indigo color. So it's good to have those mapped out so you can see, okay, this is more of granulated and like maroon red. This is a more pinkish red. This is more of an orangish red. Those things can help you as you're working on this project. So I've got that for my reference. And then this is an atomizer that I have. You don't necessarily have to have the atomizer, but I really like it for prepping my palette. I just spray my palette with water. This activates the pigments on the surface of my palette so that I'm not scrubbing so hard in order to pick up the pigment and mix it up on my palette here. So I don't want to scrub a lot with my watercolor brushes because I want those brushes to last. I don't want those brushes to end up fraying or deteriorating because I've used so much friction at just trying to pick up the pigment. So I just spray that a little bit. If you don't have an atomizer, totally fine. You can get your brush, and let's zoom this out so you can see. I've got my water right here. You want clean water. I'm just dipping it in here. For these desktop projects, I like to have my own water well instead of relying on the water inside the water brush. The water inside the water brush is really great when you're on the go. So while we're sitting and doing something at a desk in a controlled environment, I'm using an extra set of water so that I can thoroughly clean out my brush. Oh, and I forgot to mention, maybe a little ADHD moment today. I have paper towels off to the side so that I can clean up my brush as I go. So just get those pigments nice and wet. I'm going to first start out with a blue pigment. So I'm going to pull a fair amount of this blue pigment. It's kind of like a cerulean. I like the cerulean color. It gets some hate, honestly. I don't know why. It's got such a bright, cheery color to it. And I put it on the palette to mix it together. I'm not adding any other pigments to it, but I do want to make sure that my texture and consistency of the color is right. So I want to make sure that I have enough water, and I also want to make sure that I have it at the right depth. So I want a light wash. So I need to make sure that I add plenty of water to this. So I'm rolling my brush around to make sure that the pigment goes in between every single one of those brush fibers.
Hi, Melissa. May you confirm the brand or weight cardstock paper that you're using?
That is a good question. This might be the Strathmore Arnhem paper. I'm not entirely sure. This is the Strathmore toned watercolor paper. No, sorry, the Hanamule toned watercolor paper. But you can use whatever paper you have on hand. Because we're not doing really intense watercolor washes, the type of paper isn't as crucial. So when it comes to doing watercolor illustrations and things like that, where you're doing multiple washes, things like that, you do want to have a high quality paper. In fact, if you're prioritizing any kind of quality when you're working in watercolor, you work on the highest quality paper that you can afford. But for this particular project, it actually doesn't matter. I've done it on copy paper and that works just fine. So whatever you got on hand is really the best paper to work with. So I'm just pulling all that pigment up, and I'm going to work in these arced movements, and I'm going to splay the brush fibers, bristles, sorry, apart so that I can get the most amount of pigment down on the page. And I'm just going across, adding more water, and I'm working really quickly and messy. I'm not reworking this. I'm just letting it do its thing, okay? So I'm gonna add a little bit more pigment here. And I'm gonna work on the next one. So I really didn't, I laid it down. And that is the trick for working on a non-dedicated watercolor paper, is work quickly and don't overwork the paper, because then the paper will end up falling apart, because cardstock paper is not a cotton rag. So the cotton rag keeps its paper fibers together, whereas a cardstock doesn't necessarily do that when it's been activated with water. So we work quickly and then we set it aside. And honestly, if you can work with enough water and if you work quickly enough that you're not overworking your pigment, that's the key to really great watercolor, period, end of story. So if you can try and control that, that's going to be really good for you, advantageous for sure. Okay, so I'm picking up more pigment. We're going to try a slightly different angle so you can see the brush. Okay, and I'm doing these sort of arced movements. And you notice how I'm getting a little bit more texture in my wash and a little bit more movement because I'm using a dedicated watercolor paper. And I'm just using the side of my brush, and I can work into it a little bit more. I can fuss around with it. If I want to add just a slightly different pigment, I can drop that in there and it'll blend and do some beautiful things because I'm working on a dedicated watercolor paper. So just so you can see the differences there. So let's look at this. We've got this happening where it's taking a little bit longer to dry. The pigment is blending and moving, and it's doing some more things. And this just pretty much dried where it was. So it just creates a slightly different effect. Not one better than the other for this particular purpose, but just different. Okay, so while we're waiting for our washes to dry, let's work on our Mary sentiment, our sentiment at the front. This is where Watercolor is one of those things where I don't like rushing the drying process. So I do like working on multiple projects at the same time so that I can have a rotation of what's drying and working on something so that I'm not just sitting there and watching the paper dry. Okay. All right, so let's look at our handout for a second. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Let's learn a little bit about calligraphy and what I mean when I say that this style uses a 57-degree angle with a 1-to-1 ratio with looped terminals and a generous oval. So those details are very descriptive of pretty much, and will give you clues for how to approach, say, the capital letters. So what I mean by that, I'm going to grab my red pen. Let's start off with the 1-to-1 ratio. So what that means is we're going to use 2 boxes tall as our 1 ratio. So my ascender space, or the letters that go above, like the top of the K, the top of the L, are really only 1 space tall. And then my X height is 2 spaces tall. And then my descenders are really 1 space tall most of the time. That helps develop our style, okay? So we've got that, and then we've got a 57-degree angle. So that 57-degree angle can be achieved by drawing a line on the top right corner of one box and the bottom left corner of the box 3 below and 1 over. So that's our angle line, okay? Now, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It's just this is our way of showing consistency. So this is just the angle at which the letters mostly lie, okay? Do you have to be perfect and at a 50, like, do you need to get the protractor out? No, you don't. Do you need to get, each line super, super perfect? No, you don't. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this class, we are embracing the human nature of this design. We're embracing the imperfections and the organic nature that comes out of this. But this gives you a guide so that you can build with consistency. So, and then what this means by looped terminals. So the O, for example, it has a little tiny loop that connects the O to the next level, the next letter. The B, it has a loop that connects the B to the next letter. The intro of the C and the E are also looped. So you have this little tiny looped detail that's like your sparkle throughout, and there should be a loop there, but it got closed off just a little bit. That's a W. So you have this little looped detail that's your sparkle that kind of pops up intermittently. So that's something to think about, okay? And then a generous oval. What that means is it's kind of fat. So this oval, instead of being really skinny along the angle line, it's going to be kind of wide along the angle line. So that oval is going to tell you, like, the A is going to look like that. The E is going to look like this. So that oval is the mother shape. If you take anything from this class and the lettering aspect of this class, is that the oval is that mother shape. That's what directs the proportion to everything. So let's look at this a little bit closer. Okay, so we have this oval right here. We've got an oval right here. We've got another oval shape right here. Got an oval here, and look at this E, we've got two stacked ovals on top of each other. The F, even this top part of the F has a small oval, but it's small, but it's still in the same proportion as the rest of the ovals. It's got that same width to it. It's got that same body to it. This G, this oval here, aligns with the A, the oval of the A, right? This curvature here on the H, that's an oval. The M, you've got that oval. The K, you've got a smaller oval. So you see where those ovals repeat, and that creates and builds consistency within your structure. So that's what I want you to think about when we're working on these letters. So we're going to work on Mary. Let's construct the word Mary without going through the whole alphabet. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of time to build an entire alphabet, practice the alphabet, and then execute it within a design in just 1 hour. So I'm going to break down how I constructed this word as a whole, and then help you build these letters together. So if you've got your scratch piece of paper, again, you can build this grid structure, totally up to you, or you can wing it. It's honestly, it's totally fine, because we're working in an organic nature. We're leaning into the organic style of irregularity with this particular design. Now, if you're trying to do something very classic, very formal, I want you to get the ruler out. I want you to get the pencil out, and I want you to really draft that out. For example, I'm part of this organization. It's called IAMPITH. It's the International Association of Master Penmen, Engrossers, and Teachers of Handwriting. Total mouthful, but one of the most incredible organizations that honors a lot of the traditional calligraphy and hand lettering that's existed. And there's an archive room, and every year when there's a conference, they bring the archives out, and we can go to this room and look at master penmen from the late 19th century and see their work up close, personal, and original. And there is something really powerful about being up close and personal with these master penmen. They are the goat of lettering, right? They are the goat of calligraphy, and they did these things by hand. They executed them quickly because their entire lives were dedicated to this particular practice. Like, they were spending 8 hours a day practicing one letter before they moved on to the next. But what I found really interesting in my first conference there were a lot of pencil markings, lots and lots of pencil markings. You could see them. They were very, very fine. They never bothered to erase them. And what I learned two things. One, if you pencil light enough, you don't really have to erase them. And two, even the master penmen, the best of the best, used a pencil. So I shouldn't feel this pressure to freehand and get it perfect in order to feel like I am creating a successful piece of art. So we love the pencil. The pencil is our friend, and then we do our best beyond that. So anyway, had to kind of go on a little tangent, little soapbox moment there. But I really, really, really love using a pencil. I think it's really great for helping build that muscle memory for when you're going to create your final piece. So with that in mind, I am going to trace the outside of my card here on my spare sheet of paper. So if you're planning on using the printout and you have the printout all ready to rock and roll, you can just sit back and watch this step if you want. If you want to self-draft, grab out a piece of paper and trace your design on this. So we want to make sure that that the Mary that we're creating fits within this card design, because I'm going to show you a trick on how to transfer the design that we pencil onto our nice cardstock paper without having to write, erase, write, erase, write, erase. There's a lot of power in pencil and pencil drafting, but it's nice to draft it on a piece of paper where you're not worrying about how much erasing you have to do. So I'm going to, this is about center, visual center, right here. And I'm going to go just above it and just below it. So this is going to be where Mary sits, just a little bit above center. That's just a very harmonized proportion where we have a little bit less up top and a little bit more on bottom. It feels more centered. So first we're going to visualize our angle lines. And am I using a ruler? No. Do I need to use a ruler? Not necessarily, but I want to visualize these lines so that they're consistent, so that when I draw a downstroke, I can be more or less on that same line. Okay, with the M, I want to visualize an A kind of along that angle line where the bottom gap splits in half and falls along that angle line. Does that make sense? So this line is not on the angle line. This line is not on the angle line, but this line is on the angle line. So I'm just visualizing the backbone of these letters. This is the basic bone structure of these letters. Okay, so Mary is an oval along that angle line with two small ovals inside it. Okay, and then the R, it's like an oval comes after the letter and goes straight into this next R with another oval. And then another oval. This is the downstroke or underturn of the Y. And then I've got my descender. Okay, this looks chaotic and crazy. Let's make this make a little bit more sense. Okay, I have this overall structure happening here. So let's work on building that up. So first I'm going to draw along this line and I'm going to curve it out around and up. I'm curving into myself, making this oval shape and then bisecting the oval again. So I have this little parallel line here. This is kind of coming off the page a little bit, and I think that's okay. Then this goes down and up and then down and curves around. So this is going to hug this E shape here and make a little fish. Do you see how that looks like a fish? So we've got our little fish shape. Okay. Then for this next part, we're going to create a little baby oval, and I'm going to outline these two smaller ovals. Round, around, and up. And I'm going to follow my R and up, this other R and up, and then my Y. Now the Y, I'm going to curve in and around. I'm going all the way around the backside of the word. So this requires not using just your little fingers. You want to use your whole arm. You want to move the musculature in your shoulder around so you can make that big movement. So we've got our Mary design going on here. Okay. And I think I'm pretty much happy with how this looks. Now, does this look chaotic? Let's try and just emphasize it a little bit better. I've got a black marker, so I'm going to retrace my steps. And I'm going to use whole arm movement. I'm using my shoulders to make my shapes. Got the little fish shape here, little loop, loop, loop up, down and up, down and up, over, and I'm finishing out this design, okay? So here we have our like roughly finished design. You see how much pencil working went into this and mapping it out and making sure that it was okay. We don't want to have all of this pencil markings on this where I'd have to erase it. So that's why drafting this out in this particular way is really helpful. So the next thing we're going to do is transfer this design onto our card. So I'm going to peel this off of my notebook. And I'm going to just, if you have tape, great. If you don't, that's also fine. I am aligning this. Well, actually, sorry, I am a step ahead. I should focus up a little bit. Do you see where my Mary is on the back side of this paper? I need to create a pencil transfer. So I've got my mechanical pencil. If you have a non-mechanical pencil, that's going to be better for a transfer. But effectively what I'm doing here is I'm laying down a bunch of graphite over my design on the back side of the paper. Graphite transfers really well. So we're effectively, if you're old enough to know what carbon paper is, you're making your own carbon paper here. And it doesn't have to be super dark, doesn't have to be perfectly colored in, but we do need to have enough pigment or graphite laid down here that it gives us a good, nice transfer. So we've got this transfer going. I've got all of this ready to go. I'm going to line this up and flip it over. So I've got my paper lined up here underneath it. I'm just pinning it down with my hands. You can tape it down. It's up to you. But from here, I'm going to pencil in my lines. And I'm using a thicker pencil instead of a mechanical pencil. It doesn't matter. You can use a ballpoint pen, but I'm using a fair amount of pressure and working my way through the center of the lines that I just created. And I'm just quickly drawing out my line. Sorry, that was a bad angle for you guys. So I've got my lines done. Do you see that? It's such a faint little transfer. Easy, easy, easy. So we spent all of this time practicing and drafting and rewriting and writing on top of this paper. We didn't worry too much about erasing, but we did transfer all of this onto this particular paper, which we can erase if we need to, which gives us the bandwidth to write on this without having to erase so many other lines or potentially messing up our artwork. Okay, so if you do have the handout printed, you can do the same thing with it. So I'm going to rotate it on the other side. I see where the Mary is, and I'm doing the same approach.
Hi, Melissa. Can we use artist graphite paper?
You absolutely can. Yes. This is great if you don't have that on hand, but if you do, use Away. That'll be that's exactly what we're making. So I've got my little transfer just about ready to go. And I'm going to do the same thing. Line it up So I'm using the light shining through to line that up, pin that down, and then draw. I'm just drawing. I'm worried about the Mary. I'm not worried about the holly, leaves, or berries. We don't really need to worry about that so much just yet. So we're going to draw out our letters. And you can see that coming in pretty faintly. That's all we really need. We just need a visual guide to help us out. Okay. Now we're going to, this wash on both papers is fully dry. So we're going to write, we're moving on to the next part of this particular card. And we're going to start writing. I'm going to wet my pigments again. And let's talk a little bit about how we hold the brush in our hands to get the most control when we're writing. I think this is probably one of the most difficult tasks as we start writing, as you're starting to learn calligraphy, particularly like watercolor calligraphy, because effectively we're working with bristles, individual bristles that need to be managed and controlled. So we need to make sure that our alignment is good and that we're controlling the bristles at all times. So let me show you a couple things that I like to focus on. One, we get our color, we mix it on the palette. That is one of the best things about this particular travel palette is I have yet to find another travel palette that has as many mixing wells and as much surface area for mixing colors as the Sakura Koi travel. Like this seriously is incredible. We've got all of these spaces for mixing color. So when you're doing brush lettering with watercolor, this is the way to go. You want to mix your pigment on the palette. And then what we're doing here, do you see how I'm rolling my brush? What that does is two things. It's getting all of the pigment inside the bristles, so I have as much pigment I'm picking up as possible, but then the rolling aspect, it gives me the sharpest point possible. And then I'm holding the pen. Let's see, this is not, it's like deciding what it wants to focus on. Come on. So I'm holding the brush in between my index finger and my thumb. Kind of looks like an almond shape here. We don't see that there, sorry. So this gives us this almond shape between our finger and our thumb. And then these fingers kind of get tucked back behind. If I'm really in a relaxed position, it's going to look like this. But most of the time, I'm going to have it curled up like this. So my thumb is bent, my index finger hooks around just like this, and I'm going to make some marks. And I want to make light marks. And I'm using my whole arm. You see, I'm not moving my fingers. I'm really just going like this. Let's see. So I'm using a light touch. My brush is almost upright. It's not super far down. It's upright. And I'm rotating the brush within my hand about every stroke or so that I continually give myself a sharp pointed edge. So down strokes and then up strokes. And I'm lightly planting my hand on the surface of the paper so it gives me enough feedback that I have a more confident line. If I'm just hovering over the air and nothing is touching the ground, my line kind of goes all over the place. It becomes more organic. So if you want a very organic look that's kind of wiggly wobbly, then don't put your hand on the page. But if you want something that's more stable, fluid, and smooth, you want to have your hand planted just like this. Now, do we have any lefties in the group? Any lefties? I'm assuming we at least have one. I would be shocked if we didn't have any. The lefty is going to be exactly the same. I see Paula. Thanks for raising your hand. We've got one. So same idea. I'm going to go up just like this. Jamie, I see you. It's good to see you here. And we're going to go up just like this. We have that same high pitch like before. And I'm applying pressure. I'm touching the paper with this part of my hand. Notice where that is. That's right here. My stroke is over here. So I actually have almost 6 inches of difference in between where I'm making my mark and where my hand is touching the surface of my desk or my paper. So don't feel too concerned about like smudging your work so much. So down, down, and up. Same idea. And we're not using a ton of pressure and release. We're just making these up and down strokes, okay? So you can tell I'm clearly a righty. I'm not a lefty, but the techniques are exactly the same. You just want to have that nice light stroke and control the brush with, you move the brush with your arm and you control the fine movements with your fingers, okay? Our arm muscles are so much bigger than our hand muscles. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we want to control our strokes. Let me get more pigment on here. And I'm going to do a little test over here. Let's push this over. And I want to do things in nice fluid movements. I'm not applying any difference in pressure, but I do have some line weight variation, and that's what creates this organic stroke, okay? Down, up, down, and make our little fish shape. And then we've got our loop, down and up. And this naturally got a little bit thicker, and that's okay. So let's look at this. Let's look at what's going on here. First and foremost, we have line variation. That's something that we want. Then we have color and lightness variation. So we want to make sure that we're okay with that. Like this is actually what's supposed to happen. So this texture on all fronts with the line weight, with the color, with everything is really what we want. We want to have this irregularity, okay? So let's work on our card. It's so light, my camera's having a hard time picking it up. Now, like I mentioned before, this is our cardstock, okay? So this is not going to handle the watercolor quite as well, but because we're really doing just fine lines, it doesn't matter. What we don't want to do, we want to commit to the lines, be confident, and move on. We don't want to rework our lines. And I think that's what's really important, is be okay and be confident with the way that things turn out. I feel like this is kind of a metaphor for life, perhaps a little bit. I know I can sometimes get a little too controlling of my situation and feel a little frustrated and out of control. But understand that you've got to let go and just be confident in the direction that you're going, okay? So I'm gonna add a little bit more water to my pigment, pick that up. I'm rolling it around so I get a nice sharp point. And then I'm going to start here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to go off the edge. I'm going to be coming off the edge and then coming back on the edge. I should have shown the other angle. We'll show the other angle. Let's see. Is that a little bit better? So now I'm going down and up, making our little fish shape, grabbing more pigment, rolling that around. If your pigment feels a little dry, add a little bit of water. Okay, now I'm going to add my loop. Sometimes it helps to just visualize that loop over in the air before you commit it to the paper. Whoops. I've got a little piece of lint in my brush. And I stopped mid-stroke, no big deal. We're going to just pick it up where we left off. Down, up, down, up. And look, can you see that I didn't fall exactly on top of my pencil markings? That's okay. Just let the pen fall where it goes. Just trust your hand to know what it's doing. Okay, I'm gonna come back here and loop around. So it's almost like we're cropping off our design just a little bit. So we've got our design here. Let's go to the other paper and work on the other design. It's a little bit smaller. And see how the watercolor paper changes things. I'm getting my paper ready to rock, and we're just committing. Down and up. Make our little fish stroke. I'm going to grab a little bit more pigment. And I'm just using a very light touch. I'm not applying much pressure at all. And see, that kind of went a little off the rails, and I feel less confident going up and around. So I'm going to rotate my paper. This is something that you can do. You can retouch your lines a little bit. You can rotate your paper and do the strokes that feel more confident and stable. It's entirely up to you. Okay. All right. So we have our card designs. We could leave them as is. To be honest, these look cute. I think we could send those off and we'd be pretty happy with our results, and our loved ones would be pretty darn pumped to get something like this hand done in the mail. I think it's sweet, but I see some little negative spaces. Got a little negative space here, here, here. Like we've got these little, they're almost like triangles of negative space. These are opportunities. We've got a nice negative space like right here, here, and here. These are opportunities to add something that conveys the rest of the sentiment. So let's say it's too late to send a card for the Christmas holiday, but you want to send a card and you already have the Mary. Instead of putting holly berries, why not put snowflakes and just put that, you know? Or let's say you don't celebrate Christmas. What are you going to put there? You could put a Star of David. You could put anything that aligns with what you want in here. You know, if it's a Merry birthday, if it's a Christmas season birthday, put balloons in there. Like you can get really creative with these simple icons and have fun with it. So let's work on holly on this one, and we can work on snowflakes on this one. I feel like those are both really fun, easy, and still really impactful icons that we can do easily with watercolor. So first, we're going to do holly berries. The berries come first. So I'm just getting more red pigment on my brush, and I'm going to do dots in groupings of 3. And I'm looking for this negative space. So I have a fair amount of negative space up here. So I'm going to do a big dot right there, here and here. And don't feel like those dots need to be the same distance or the same size as each other. They can be irregular. Use your best judgment. And if you feel like, okay, this is feeling a little flat, pick up a different red and just tap that red pigment inside there on a couple of those, and it adds to the whole feel. Okay, so we've got our holly berries. Now we need to work on those holly leaves. Let's get our color. I find with greens, I'm very particular about my green. I like an emerald green, but I like it toned down. I like to have not the pure jewel toned green. So this is my pure jewel toned green. I just feel like it has a little too much blue in it. And I don't want that. I want a little bit of depth, so I'm actually going to pick up this light orange. It's gonna have some yellow in there to brighten and warm up my green, but the red inside there is going to tone it down so that it doesn't get too light and bright. So this feels a little bit more earthy rather than jewelry with the tone. It's got just a slightly better pigment to it for me. I really like those muddy greens. They're just my favorite. So I have a nice amount of green here. I'm just twisting my brush so that I can have a nice sharp point here. And then I'm going to draw out my leaves. The leaves, let's use a scratch piece of paper. The leaves on a holly, we can exaggerate it and have it curve a lot, and then up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, and connect. I like to do it away from my body. I feel like I have more control. And I do it in those particular segments instead of draw up, up, over, up, back in. You can do that. That also works, but I feel like I have more control and I like to work away from my body than working out and towards my body in one quick movement. The other way you can approach the holly leaves, if you're working in a small space, like this one, we're working kind of in a small space, you can draw a little line and then fill in as you go. So it's just a solid holly leaf. Either one totally works. It's up to you. You are the art director of your own card. So let's go back to the card and let's think about the direction that we want these leaves to go. So let's talk about the top leaves. I want them to hug the word a little bit. I want everything to come back into the word. That's going to center the focus back into what's the most important part of this card, the Mary. You're wishing somebody happiness, right? So I'm getting my green and I'm curving it down towards the M. And I'm going to do my little 2 points, another 2 points. And then I'm going to do that again over here. And I'm going to leave that one open just because we want some variety here, right? Okay. So then with this bottom one, I'm going to point it up and towards my words. So point this up. And if we cross over our line, that totally works. You can fill that in or not. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're just kind of hugging things. Doing an arc this way. And I'm going to fill this one in. And then this one this way. So we've got our little Mary sentiment. Now, if you still feel like there are blank spots, we can go through with either a dark blue or more dark green and just have some little spots. And we've got a nice, lovely texture going on here, okay? So this next one, let's opt for snowflakes. So snowflakes are super easy. Just a little softball to finish off the class, right? Something easy, simple. All we're doing is mixing up a slightly darker version of that cerulean, just something that's a little bit more saturated. And I'm going to draw a vertical line and then an X. A vertical line and an X. And you can play around with the proportions of that and make it like shorter or longer. You can rotate your paper so that those snowflakes are happening in different angles. And then more dots. And some of these dots are open, some of them are closed. So now we've got a more winter themed, and this we have more greenery themed, right? Super fun. Okay, so now that we're basically done, if you have a glitter pen, now's the time to add the glitter. So my Mary is all dry. My snowflakes aren't quite dry yet, so I may have to wait for that a little bit. But what I'm going to do is draw little dots. This is the Jelly Roll Clear Stardust. So it takes on whatever colors around it. So you don't have to worry about getting any other colors. The clear is really the best. It's so fantastic. I'm going to draw little dots inside my strokes. And I don't have to be super purposeful about where these dots are. You can also do lines if you want. And effectively what that does, see how that catches the light? It creates a literal sparkle. So when people open, your loved ones open their mail, like they get a sense of delight when they open up their cards. Same thing with this. You can add the sparkle to the holly berries. That's a great idea. Adding it to as a shadow underneath Mary. So instead of having inside the red lines, you can do it outside the red lines. Just simple, easy peasy. And then you've got this drop shadow that's happening in sparkles. So I hope you were able to make something this session with me. If not, I hope you rewatch the replay and make it with me when you have all the materials together. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. So if you do any of you have questions? I'm looking at the chat. Thank you so much for your kind words, everyone. I highly recommend getting the Sakura Koi travel set, watercolor set. It's such a fantastic set. I've had a few of them over the last few years. I love how they work consistently time and time and time again. So if you're going to get a gift for yourself or loved ones this holiday season, I highly recommend getting that at Michael's. If you want to learn more about calligraphy, if you want to dive so much deeper than this, check out my calligraphy classes at calligraphy.org. You can find me on social media. I'm at Melissa or at calligraphy.org. Tag me. I want to see what you do. I want to celebrate your wins with you. Thank you so much for joining.